We know that there are three kinds of Buddhism. We have the Hinayana, the Mahayana, and then you have the Vajrayana Buddhism. Apart from the ones inspired by Ambedkar, who joined the Navayana. Now, all of them put together, we are talking about roughly 33 crores of people who say that they are Buddhists. The reincarnation problems are really the problems. There are concepts everywhere, but they are really the problems of Vajrayana, the mountain Buddhism. Of these 33 crores of people, all of them add up to some 60 lakhs, even if you go by the Dalai Lama's own numbers of the people who belong to Vajrayana in the Tibet area. So we are not talking a huge number of people, of Buddhists in Tibet. But the concept of rebirth and the affirmation of that concept is what keeps the Dalai Lama system going. I mean, this Dalai Lama is the recycled 13th Dalai Lama. So he's number 13 or 14 of some guy who lived 1,000 years ago. I personally think, not just I, almost every human rights activist in the world thinks that Tibet should have the right to self-determination, that it should not be handed to the Chinese, that the Chinese should not be allowed to have an almost cleansing of Tibet by bringing in people from mainland China to settle there. So this is not a talk about or a discussion about the human rights of the Tibetans. Surely they need to have a means to select their rulers in a democratic way. But this is about the Dalai Lama, who, basing himself on his public relations, on the silly belief that dead people can be reborn, is trying to change the politics of the region. To establish what? To establish a theocracy. For this mischievous drama of his, he chose and he plotted with the parents of a little child called Shambhavi, making ridiculous claims on the child's behalf, that the child is divinely created, found, is the reborn incarnation of a dead friend of the Dalai Lama, childhood friend, that this child has got magical powers, can foresee the future, can speak about when Tibet will become independent, when China will become democratic, when Lord Shiva will emerge from the Himalayas, when Hanuman will come with the mountain, when non-vegetarians can be ended on the earth, and so on and so forth. We were told that this child has such powers that wherever you take the child, whichever part of the country, depending on the state that the child is in, the child would automatically start speaking the local language. The child is able to conduct discussions with people who have done masters in education. This is a 6-year-old child, nice and cute and bonny, and speaking like a child, but saying these adult things. The child was installed in a temple, and people in the thousands queued up to visit the child, but not simply to visit, to pay their respects, to fall at her feet, and so on. And this was a tamasha that was being played out on television in almost every channel. And this was going on, and I'd been on a few discussions on TV, and I said, this is not about your belief, this is about human rights, the human rights of the child. As I said, in the mountain regions, where in Nepal you have the Kumari cult, when children are identified, again magically, as having special characteristics, girl children. And then the girl is brought into a temple and decorated like a doll and called a Kumari. They wait till the child attains puberty and they throw the child out of the village temple. And that's it. Nobody cares for the child anymore. Goddess becomes somebody abandoned instantly. And there are thousands of such Devis in villages. The chief of those Devis, Kumaris, will be in Kathmandu Valley. You have children who have been recruited and enrolled in Buddhist monasteries. Not everything about Buddhism is positive, and we are looking at the areas that are not. Monasteries or religious institutions of the Hindus or the Muslims. Little children, their heads are shaved, their clothes are changed, they're made to wear a uniform of the religion, and you make them get into these so-called schools, woken up at 4, made to have a bath with cold water and sit and recite meaningless things in languages that they don't know or understand, and nobody living speaks. This goes on till they gain adulthood. By then, they're completely damaged. The story of Shambhavi is spectacular because somebody with a Nobel Prize in his pocket was enacting this drama. He was behind it. So it was important to challenge. And when I went to the TV discussions, I said, this is a problem that children face in religious context, especially when religious leaders are involved. Let the child be that what they were doing is wrong, that they would never accept the same thing for their own children. Which of them would withdraw their child from school and install the child in a temple to make a circus with that child? And my remonstration with these people that they should not do it had very limited effect. So one day I got fed up and I declared that I would file a petition, a complaint with the Human Rights Commission against the media and the lady who says she is a guardian of the child, that she found the child in Varanasi. Look at how they created the story. This is a child divinely created with all these special powers, found abandoned in Kashi, but they know that it is a child born to Brahmin parents. How do you know? But they know it is Brahmin parents. They found the child by the lake in Hinduism's holiest, so to say, cities, Kashi, Varanasi. Brahmin, divine origin, found by chance, and in the holiest of places. And the Dalai Lama has identified her as the rebirth of a dead classmate or friend or childhood friend of his. So obviously there's no logic to this whole thing. But it was clear that something was cooking. So when I declared that I would go to the Human Rights Commission and complain against the media and the lady who is acting as a guardian, and I even said that I suspect this is a kidnapped child because no parent would ever allow a child to be treated like this. You know what the trigger for all this was? In then the largest or one of the two largest circulated newspapers, Sakshi, there was a supplement issued on the 14th of November. So Children's Rights Day, Children's Day at least in India, November 14th. And it was a special supplement on Shambhavi, not on children. And it said, the God in every child. So a special 4-page pullout in the top circulated newspaper declaring that this child is God, born. And an interview with the child where the child is being spoken to with great reverence as if this is a mata of some kind. And I saw that, to me, it appeared that it had crossed the threshold where it had now to be stopped. So I went to the TV channels themselves and told them that I was now going to file a case against them. Some of them either being intimidated by this or thinking there is more drama in this story, said, let us be part of what you are doing. These are the same people who were dishonestly entertaining interviews with this child. At 11 in the night, the child was yawning, sitting in the studio and trying to answer the stupid questions of the idiot journalists. exploiting this child. So when I went to the Human Rights Commission, with me came 4 or 5 TV channels with their OB vans to broadcast live. And then 10, 15 different TV channels with their reporters. So it became big news. And the Human Rights Commission heard my arguments and asked for an inquiry into the matter. This went on for quite some time, repeated sessions, and when the government was government was watching throughout, but when the force came from the Human Rights Commission, Justice Subhashan Reddy, an amazing order that government should investigate into the special powers being claimed by the child. My arguments were, in summary, this: the right to childhood is an inherent human right of a child. By denying childhood to this child, by installing the child in the temple, by parading this child as a circus animal, no doubt everyone was falling genuflexed in front of the child, but it was a circus. By making claims on behalf of the child, by making the child say that Shambhavi, the child, was in touch with the Dalai Lama by telepathy, they are creating false ideas of reality, and therefore psychiatric help was needed to rehabilitate the child, to bring it back to normalcy. These were my submissions to the Human Rights Commission. As you know, state human rights commissions are headed by retired chief justices of high courts. So these are people of great accomplishment who are at the head of the commission. When the inquiry was ordered, I went to the inquiry to depose and to give evidence. And I had huge numbers of people trying to oppose my presence. The outcome of the inquiry was the government officer inquiring said, I did not find any special powers. It's an ordinary child. We tried to take this information to the collector of the district so that he could then take action on the temple that they were setting up. And he would not act. He even accused me of seeking publicity. And I said, I am seeking publicity and I am declaring it, that it is only through publicity that I will shock the people that government officers were not doing their duty. So it was a confrontation with the officers who could have done something but were doing nothing. Then I petitioned the Human Rights Commission that now that it is clear the child has no special powers, we can now be sure that this is an elaborate deception. And in the hands of this woman, parading as the guardian of this child, the child will be permanently damaged and social welfare department should take care of the child from now on. Realizing that the child would now pass on to the custody of the government, the woman who was with her then admitted and declared that she was in fact the biological mother of this child. She was parading as a sannyasi. And then it came out that one guy, a yoga teacher from Banaras, was her lover, that she was his second consort. He was already married to a woman. So this was an affair that she had with this man, and this child is a product of that liaison. And they were doing this drama. That fellow came. He tried to propound the theory that because they're Brahmins, they cannot touch others to maintain their purity. And that is why this child should be in the custody of the parents, and that the child cannot go to school. Now, this is an admission to the practice of untouchability. So I said that I would be proceeding the next day with filing a case, atrocities case, which is on the basis of his statement that we do not touch others, which means others should not touch me, even in normal circumstances. Therefore, this is an incitement to the practice of untouchability. So, an extramarital affair, Tibet, China, democracy, Buddhism, reincarnation, Hinduism, child rights, media, Human Rights Commission, and this child. All were part of the drama now. When this woman said that she was admitted or declared or confessed that she was in fact the mother of the child, the story changed, of course. They brought in Acharya Nagarjuna of the Madhyamika school. They said Shambhavi was in touch with him. They said everything possible. And because of the ruckus created by the campaign I had started, but which had now lots of people joining in, I was told I was anti-Hindu. I told them that this is all Buddhist belief, not Hindu, that we are fighting in the context of Dalai Lama. I showed them that the idea of rebirth is ridiculous, is meaningless, and is being misused here. Over 6 or 10 months in that kind of time frame, it came to a point when I was walking in the street and people wanted to say good things to me. When I went to restaurants, I was not allowed to pay my bill by the owners of the restaurants. So things had turned. All these people started listening. They were not with the frenzy and the fanaticism of religion that we see today, 10 years after or 11 years after, but they were open to listening. The judge, Justice Subhashan Reddy Garu, at the end of it, ordered the collector. This is the first case under the Right to Education Act. Right to education is part of the right to life and therefore a fundamental right, and it should be free and compulsory till the age of 14. And therefore Shambhavi was ordered to go to school, and the collector was told to ensure this would happen, or that the Human Rights Commission would prosecute the collector. The very fellow who said I was doing it for publicity was ordered by the judge. The superintendent of police of the district, Kurnool, of that time called me and said, if the Dalai Lama comes to Kurnool, you file a case, I will arrest him. Because the Dalai Lama was going to come to inaugurate the temple, which was incidentally built on occupied government land. A big real estate venture was being developed around there. People were buying land so they could build a little cottage and be near Goddess Shambhavi. The Dalai Lama came to Hyderabad thinking he would go to see this child. Such was the commotion that he encountered. The Intelligence Bureau, IB, told him that he should not go out into the streets. He was to deliver a discourse in the Buddhist place of prayer in Hyderabad. That event was cancelled. This one who renounced all the goods of the world, the good things of the world, staying in the 7-star ITC Grand Kakatiya, locked himself in the rooms for 2 days, cancelled his visit to Kurnool district from where he was to go to Nandyal. He sulked and he went to Karnataka, where between Mysore and Coorg, on the way from Mysore to Coorg, there is a settlement of Tibetans. So how human rights exploitation results from illogical, unexamined, unchallenged, irrational beliefs. This is a case study for us.